Tariro Chapter 3, A Prison Called Home. The weeks after the funeral passed slowly, like dark clouds refusing to leave the skies of Zivhu village in Masvingo. At first, relatives still visited often, bringing food and comforting Tariro. Elderly women helped around the kitchen while men sat outside discussing the tragedy that had struck the Moyo family. But as days turned into weeks, the visitors slowly disappeared. One by one, relatives returned to their own homes and lives. Soon the once crowded homestead became quiet again. And with that silence came change. The morning everything truly changed began before sunrise. Tariro was sleeping when loud banging suddenly shook her bedroom door. "Wake up!" Lucia shouted harshly from outside. The frightened girl jumped from bed immediately. Her heart raced as the door swung open. Lucia stood there wearing a wrapper around her shoulders, her face already filled with irritation. "What are you still doing sleeping?" she snapped. "The yard is dirty, dishes are everywhere, and the water buckets are empty." Tariro blinked in confusion. Usually her mother woke her gently for school. Usually breakfast already smelled from the kitchen by this hour. Usually mornings felt warm and safe. But now the house felt cold. I was about to wake up, am I?" she whispered softly. Lucia clicked her tongue. "Stop talking and go fetch water before everyone wakes up." Outside, darkness still covered most of the village. Cold wind brushed against Tariro's thin sweater as she lifted 2 heavy buckets and began walking toward the borehole. For the first time in her life, she walked there alone before sunrise. The road was quiet except for dogs barking in the distance. When she arrived at the borehole, several women looked at her with surprise. "Ah, Mwana wa Tendai," one old woman said sadly. "Why are you fetching water alone this early?" Tariro forced a weak smile. "Amai asked me to." The women exchanged quiet looks but said nothing more. By the time she returned home, her arms burned painfully from carrying the heavy buckets. But Lucia gave her no chance to rest. "Sweep the yard. Wash these plates. Feed the chickens. Clean the kitchen." Orders came one after another without stopping. Meanwhile, Lucia's children sat comfortably inside eating bread and tea while preparing for school. Tariro watched them silently from the doorway. Her own school uniform still hung neatly behind her bedroom door. Hope slowly entered her chest. Maybe she would still return to school. Maybe this suffering was temporary. Gathering courage, she finally spoke. "Amai, school opens today." Lucia turned slowly toward her. "And I need to prepare my uniform." For a moment the woman simply stared at her. Then she laughed coldly. "Uniform for what?" Tariro froze. "For school." Lucia stepped closer until they stood face to face. "There is no money to waste on your education anymore." The words struck deeply into the child's heart. "But Baba always said." Before she could finish speaking, Lucia slapped her hard across the cheek. The force nearly threw her onto the floor. "Do not mention your father." Lucia shouted angrily. "Your parents are gone. You belong under my rules now." Tears immediately filled Tariro's eyes. Inside the sitting room, Joram sat quietly reading a newspaper. He heard everything, but he said nothing. That silence hurt Tariro more than the slap itself. Later that afternoon, Lucia entered Tariro's bedroom carrying a large plastic bag. "Pack your clothes." Confused and frightened, Tariro obeyed slowly. Lucia removed blankets from the bed while her daughter Nyasha stood smiling behind her. "This room belongs to Nyasha now," Lucia announced. "You will sleep in the storage room." The storage room was small, dusty, and dark. Old boxes filled the corners while spiders covered parts of the ceiling. A thin torn mattress lay beside sacks of maize meal and broken furniture. That night Tariro cried quietly beneath her blanket. She missed her mother's voice. She missed hearing her father laugh after work. Most of all, she missed feeling safe. Days slowly turned into weeks. Every morning before sunrise, Tariro woke up to work. Fetching water. Sweeping the yard. Washing clothes by hand. Cooking sadza. Cleaning dishes. Working in the fields. Sometimes Lucia deliberately created extra work just to exhaust her. If a spoon was slightly dirty, she washed every dish again. If one shirt remained dusty, she washed the entire family's laundry again. Meanwhile, Joram's children prepared for school each morning wearing clean uniforms and polished shoes. Sometimes they mocked her openly. "Look at the servant," Nyasha laughed one morning. "You even smell like chickens," another cousin added cruelly. The children burst into laughter while Tariro lowered her eyes silently. One afternoon she stood quietly near the gate watching school children pass by carrying books and talking happily about lessons. Pain tightened inside her chest. She missed school deeply. She missed reading books beside lantern light. She missed dreaming about becoming a lawyer in Harare. At that moment, an elderly teacher named Mai Chikor walked past and recognized her immediately. "Tariro." The girl quickly wiped tears from her face. "Yes, Mai." The teacher frowned with concern. "Why are you not in school?" Before Tariro could answer, Lucia suddenly appeared behind her wearing a fake smile. "She is still recovering after losing her parents," Lucia explained quickly. Mai Chikor looked carefully at the child standing before her. The thin body, the tired eyes, the fear hidden behind silence. Something felt terribly wrong. "She was one of my brightest students," the teacher said softly. Lucia forced another smile. "She will return soon." Though she nodded politely, Mai Chikor walked away carrying deep suspicion inside her heart. That evening, while the family enjoyed beef stew and rice inside the dining room, Tariro sat alone in the kitchen eating cold plain porridge from a cracked bowl. She could hear laughter from the other room. The smell of good food filled the house. But nobody invited her to join them. As she swallowed the tasteless porridge slowly, tears rolled silently down her cheeks. For the first time in her life, the Moyo house no longer felt like home. It felt like a prison.